Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host. If this is your first Geekscape, strap yourselves in for some pop culture talk, movies, video games, comic books, TV, music. Been doing a lot of music episodes. I was supposed to do an episode with my friend Joel Reeder of The Fatal Flaw, The Avengers, Pansy Division, and before that, the Plus Ones of the Mr. G Experience, but we got online and his Wi-Fi was being a little wonky, so I was like, let's put a pin in this and bring you Joel as soon as we can because he has some reissues of some of his music coming out. The Fatal Flaw has some new singles out. There's a lot of cool stuff that he's doing that I want to promote. So he will be on the show. It's just this week we got online and we were about to go live. And we weren't going to bring you that Geekscape quality that I want to ensure. So every time you download Geekscape, I'd like for it to at least sound okay. It's just bandwidth stuff. I don't know, but we're figuring it out on his end, and we're going to figure it out. Joel's going to come on the show. In the meantime, I was getting some feedback from your episode, or feedback from the episode I did with Ian on Venom, The Last Dance. And here's one from my friend Kevin McCaffrey, who's been on the show from Singapore. Kevin says, "Leave no symbiote unturned in the quest for truth and analysis." He said, "This episode cracked me up so hard. Disgruntled John is hilarious." So I think that all of you who enjoyed the Venom episode, Venom, The Last Dance, I think the enjoyment came out of my disgruntled. That was a tough one, folks. If you haven't seen the movie, it's okay. Just go back and listen to the Venom episode. Ian did a great job in making sure I didn't jump out a window. I'm on the second floor, so it wouldn't have done much. It would have hurt. It would have messed me up. But would it have messed me up to the degree that Venom: The Last Dance would have messed me up? That messed me up. So if you want to hear a very disgruntled me, go seek that one out in our podcast feed. It's right there, along with almost 20 years of Geekscape episodes. Where on some of them, I experienced some media that I'm not in love with. I try and be diplomatic about that stuff. I try and be honest about that stuff. I try and be somewhat, fair about that stuff. But sometimes with this Venom: The Last Dance, I think I'm going to be talking about that one for a long time. As much as heat as Morbius got and Madame Web and all that stuff, you guys should have saved it. You guys should have saved your ire for the one that The Last Dance. So you know what? I'm still holding out hope, as I do whenever I punch a ticket for any of these movies. I've been telling myself repeatedly. Disney came out with a really cool reel for the stuff that's coming to Disney Plus in 2025. We're talking about the Ironheart, which I love. I love the people who are creatively behind Ironheart. That looks really promising. I'm talking about the third season of the animated What If. I love that. I bought myself, and Heidi, I got it for Heidi, the Blu-ray for Deadpool Wolverine. I love the Deadpool Wolverine. I can't wait for Captain America Brave New World. I can't wait for any of this stuff. And so I'm telling myself this mantra. Whenever we suffer, maybe you didn't, maybe you liked it, but whenever we sit through a Venom: The Last Dance, I just tell myself recently, maybe Kraven will save it. Maybe Kraven the Hunter will save this entire Sony spider experiment. Okay? Ian's in the private chat. He's like, "Are we just going to keep talking about Venom, or are we going to do Agatha here?" All right. He told you. Okay, Geeks gave us. I got to warn you. This is the Agatha All Along special. Marvel's Agatha All Along, and I remember when they announced Agatha All Along, I was like, okay, as a follow-up to Wanda Vision, we got introduced to Agatha Harkness, more of an obscure character of the Marvel mythos than the Scarlet Witch and the Vision, and she's getting her own series, and she's getting a 9-episode series, and I had asked myself, do we need this? Is this what we need? An Agatha Harkness series? Well, we're going to chop this up and see all the ingredients, maybe cast a spell over you guys and get you guys to watch it if you haven't already, because Ian and I are going to be talking Agatha All Along this episode. If you've not seen it, this one I actually care about the spoilers. On this one, if you haven't seen Agatha All Along, I would ask you guys to go see it and delay this episode I won't tell you what I thought of it, but this episode is more. I just think that the show deserves more than it was. I liked it. I didn't like it. It's got a lot going on in whatever direction you choose to like or not like it, but there's a lot to talk about. So Ian and I are going to do that. This is Geekscape. Share it with your friends. All that. I think I've covered everything, including throwing a few more jabs at our good friend Venom. And let's Geekscape it up. We're going to talk Agatha All Along when we get right back. All right, Geekscapists. Now it's Jonathan's time to start the show. I'm Jonathan London, your host. And man, I've had a week. Did some directing last week, and that was fun. Did a lot of shooting. So my brain's a little gone, but it should be reconstituting. Everything's in editing now. So my brain's just in a million places at once. Had an amazing Halloween dressed as Super Mario with Heidi as Princess Peach and our baby Ophelia as a Mario star. Guys, can I just do something real quick? I think this episode would be a lot better if I had a microphone in front of my face. I was so off and going that I did that entire intro with the microphone above my head in a position I put it in to get it away from my computer. Now the microphone is where it's supposed to be. Fuck. Yeah, I've only been doing this for how long? Ian he was like, oh great, audio might be important. I think Ian is also important. So again, I'm gonna say this one last time, Geekscapists, and I mean this one. This is the Agatha All Along special. We're gonna be really getting into the nitty gritty, leaving no stones unturned, no symbiotes unturned, talking about this, and there's a lot to talk about. So without delay, let's bring Ian in. We've had enough delay. Ian, you don't know what I think of this series, and I don't think I know
a pretty good idea what you think, actually.
What you think of the series. What did you think? What did I think of the series going into the series and like the announcement of the series?
All right. I think that you were very whatever going in, and you were pleasantly surprised by it. I think you really liked the show.
Okay, so when they announced this series, I'm just like, okay, Marvel, you got to slow this down because you're just throwing all the characters at us, and I don't know how and now there's not a plan. Now that you guys are just selling shows and characters to us and hoping that something hits and becomes a successful toy or whatever. But I don't know if we need an Agatha Harkness show. The Vision quest that's coming up, Vision's a major Avengers character. If there's Ultron in it, major Ultron character, that he's the Avengers villain as far as I'm concerned. If you've got the Young Avengers kind of showing up, okay, let's do that. That's becoming pretty apparent and everything else. I get Vision quest.
And that's where we're getting to the biggest spoiler. So here we go.
Yeah, here we go, guys. Like, we're gonna spoil the hell out of it. But I'll tell you what, Ian, that first episode of Agatha All Along, I was like, I don't get this. I don't see why they're doing this Mayor of Easton stuff. I think it's cute. I don't want to be cute. I want to be entertained. And then
to Wanda Vision, right?
I know, and it goes back to Wanda Vision, the Westview spell, and how that stuff. And then episode 2, I was like, okay, this is moving. Now we got the introduction of the road in the quest, and I was like, okay, great. Episode 2 is way better. It's got a goal. I know where the characters are going, whether or not you trust them or not. Because Agatha is a mercurial character. She's good or she's bad. We don't get her whole thing. She's secretive. Everybody's secretive here. We got this teen character. I don't know what his deal is, but let's figure this out. But at least we know that every episode they're going to go down the road, and then by episode 3 you start to see the hurdles and the tests. Bodies start dropping. By episode 7, Ian, this is one of my favorite Marvel things. By episode 8, it is really rocketing, and at the culmination of all this, and I was like, okay, can't you just end it at 8 episodes? That episode 9, where they really justify Agatha, and it's traumatic. It is really sad, really brutal. This is one of my favorite Marvel MCU releases, period.
Yeah, no, I kind of feel the same way you do. And what I feel like it's important to say is, and mind you, this show was shot a while ago. This is exactly what I think they set out to do when they were originally doing the shows. I do think there's a course correction since. I think when we discussed it, it's like, look, my perspective on these shows was always just like with comics. You have the comics that, they sell a lot of copies. They do a lot of comics that are a lot of, a little more obscure characters, character centric, that are smaller stories that, look, people like to bandy about terms like woke, all that. That stuff really annoys me because it's just like the comics. There's some comics that are going to be a little more geared at, at women, maybe even teenage girls, like a Ms. Marvel. There's some comics that, like a lot of them aren't going to be all, big superhero extravaganzas. And so to me, what they started doing with the shows is it's like they're making comics. And I thought that was really cool. I was concerned but is that going to attract a big enough audience?
I mean, has Agatha Harkness ever had her own title?
Recently she's been having some story stuff. They have her going through some like, she's sort of the main character in a group of annuals and stuff like that, So,
but based on her popularity in Wanda Vision. But prior to that, Agatha Harkness has just been a D-list character who's supporting in some ways for the mystical stuff.
But that's just it. That's the thing about this show. And now we get into the spoilers. Is this show is a bridge? It's not meant to be ongoing. It's a miniseries. I think it was a really cool character stuff that gave us the story. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have a great story for Agatha, but what we really got is Billy's story.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Like this.
And we got this setup for Tommy's story, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I think it's actually really, really awesome.
I loved this show.
The way they're taking their time with what ultimately becomes the Young Avengers is really cool. I end up in that same place. Even the Young Avengers is a title. Is that a title that ever sold so many comics that, if you take the same, if we draw an analogy with how comics sold to how the movies might do, and I'm not saying you necessarily should, but if you did, I don't know the Young Avengers was ever that much of a breakaway hit. Young Avengers, I'm crossing universes when I say this, but there was a time when the New Teen Titans was the biggest book that DC had.
But only years after it was not. And by the late 70s, that was not a popular one. And then all of a sudden the Wolfman stuff comes out and it's rock and roll.
Right. And the thing is, and yes, that's a known thing. Does that translate to, mass media sale? I mean, look, the Teen Titans cartoon, gangbusters. That probably will translate ultimately if they were to do that cinematically. But, the Young Avengers, I'm not so sure.
The Alan Heinberg storyline of the Young Avengers, I think, is a brilliant way to bring like a Kang back into the universe properly.
The Alan Heinberg story is just really well done.
It's well done.
And
this, Ian,
I would love it, but I don't know that we get that. I'm not sure if they're going to do that. I'm not sure. Was their plan for a series or a movie? I'm not sure. I mean, they've been setting up these characters left and right? And they did do, at the tail end of the Marvels, they did the homage to Nick Fury collecting it. It's Ms. Marvel collecting it. She's already gone and gotten Hawkeye. Yeah. So that seems to be the plan. Obviously Billy and Tommy, they have Eli out there already. I mean, they have a lot of these characters set up.
At what point
coming next?
In this series, Ian, at what point did you know that the teen was Billy?
But from minute one, I suspected he's Billy. The question, it was always, the only real question was ever going to be, was he going to be Agatha's kid, Nick Scratch? And listen, for the comics, I never really thought it, because you have to realize that Agatha, just like here, Agatha's older. Her kid, and Nick Scratch is her kid in the comics, but he's way older. As is the Salem 7, it's a whole thing. She had lots of kids. They were all assholes.
Can you tell me about that? Because I'm not as familiar with the Nick Scratch stuff in the comics.
First of all, you
And
have to
it was the
recognize
70s. Are we talking 70s comics, 80s comics?
70s. So here's the thing. Agatha was actually introduced. Agatha was. Do you know that Agatha was Franklin Richards' nanny?
Yes, that I did know. Yeah.
So that's a big thing. She's this older woman who is a witch, and it is Franklin's nanny. And then eventually they have her tutoring the Scarlet Witch also.
But she's introduced in Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and it's very much she was Wanda's tutor. Like they have a very close relationship for most of the comics
At Mount Wondagore.
Yeah, and they've only changed that up to reflect the series.
Right, and Mount Wondagore Geekscape is where we saw the Scarlet Witch die in Mountains of Madness or Multiverse of Madness. I keep wanting to call it Mountains of Madness because the Guillermo del Toro and in the Lovecraft story. Yeah.
So they've departed in a few ways, but I think it's interesting. I think ultimately where we get to a place that's very reminiscent. It's actually Billy sort of in the role of his mother, because there was a miniseries of Scarlet Witch, The Witch's Road, with Agatha's ghost, because at the time Agatha was dead, and then she got reincarnated, and that's happened, But basically, the fact that they're it's set they're going on an odyssey, I'm presuming that that's actually going to cross into Vision.
I do too. And one thing that I thought was really brilliant goes back to the John Moore. I said John Moore. The writer on Fantastic Four back in the day, or the Avengers, who created the Scarlet Witch's kids back in the day.
Big Byrne.
Yeah, Byrne. The Byrne stuff is
that West Avengers.
The whole thing.
Actually, Byrne didn't create them. That started in the Vision Scarlet Witch miniseries.
But this is the early 80s, correct? Mid 80s.
Yeah.
And what I thought was brilliant in Geekscape is that after WandaVision, we don't really have a follow-up in Multiverse of Madness or anything like that with Scarlet Witch's kids, who she seemed to have made out of thin air, which was the whole storyline when it got to Avengers Disassembled, is the Scarlet Witch realizing that her kids are non-existent, they're made out of thin air. And here in the MCU, she's made kids out of thin air and she can't have them. At the end of WandaVision, that all seems to be erased. And then suddenly this kid, quote unquote, her son, Billy, inhabits a new body. And that was really tragic. It's a beautiful thing. But I love how it mirrored the Byrne stuff, where it's like in an MCU style, they have created these two kids out of thin air and kept them going and inhabiting actual bodies in the same way that they happened in the Marvel comics. That was actually really great.
I thought they did that well. And actually, one of the things I actually really liked about it, as much as we all complained, and it took so long to get the follow-up series, they incorporated the time into the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, these kids are now older. They're a little bit, they're teens, and the Westview stuff all mattered. The Westview stuff wasn't just like the celestial coming out of the earth. Like I think ultimately that stuff is all going to matter. You just have to find the right way to reintroduce it. The reintegration of the Westview stuff and Billy's origin, when they finally were like, okay, it's Billy. We're going to tell you it's Billy. This is the episode where we find out how Billy came to inhabit this kid William's body. It was all creative. It was really great storytelling, and this is a show that in episode 1, when it turned off, I called it Hocus Bogus, because I was like, I'm not into this. I think that they're being cute with this Mare of Easton stuff, and like, what's that?
I liked it from the get-go. I thought it got better and better, but I really liked it.
I was just like, guys, let's try something else. Let's just not what you guys did this with WandaVision. Like, we get it. It's a different TV show. It's fun. You guys are being cute, but it's a little too meta. Like, can we just tell a story? And really, after that first episode, which I would love to go back and watch because it has the reintroduction of Aubrey Plaza's character, who is major, and the internet went crazy on that reveal. I'd love to go back and see it. And again, it all goes back to that episode 9, which, looking at the episode order and seeing 8 episodes, you're like, okay, for the most part, the quote unquote story of this could have been those 8 episodes.
Well, that's what was brilliant, right? It's like
the episode 9
feels like the finale, and then it's like, Oh, actually, no.
Episode 9 was like a beautiful fourth act that enhanced the prior 3 acts.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people comparing it to Wizard of Oz, and that's there, but
Sure.
it's also very much Usual Suspects.
Yeah. When Billy looks at the wall and realizes that he's the one that created the reality of the road in all of it.
Yeah.
And Billy was the greatest, in that Agatha was nothing but a magical leech more than anything,
Right.
and that she never was on the road. She was actually shocked when the road became real.
And
Billy
that's
created
there.
this.
You see it in her face.
Sure.
And he comes running down to save him from Sam Savage. Like, oh, let's go. She's like, okay. But she's totally surprised.
And I love that they revisited that moment.
Yeah.
You're right. It's like Usual Suspects. Billy looking around his room and realizing that he created the reality for this series. This series rocks. This series is awesome.
But so you get that twist. What I thought was even cooler was, and they said early on, that, oh, it's a con, but the fact that it was actually always Agatha's con.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even that argument about the lyrics doesn't play that way, but yeah, Agatha knows the lyrics because her and her kid came up with them.
Yeah. No, this show was a pleasant surprise.
I thought so.
Hold on. Keep talking, Ian. I'm getting my, can we go down the list of the witches and you can tell me which ones are actual characters from the comics? There really weren't any, right?
Jennifer Kale's a real character in the comics.
Jennifer Kale is the one who makes the potions, and
Yeah.
she's the surviving witch in episode 8. She survives, and you see her in episode 9 fly off with Wanda Vision type powers.
I don't think the other two were. I'd have to check on that, but I didn't
Right.
recognize that. Lilia and the Guardian. What was her name? I'm blanking on her name. The Guardian Witch.
Right.
Which I thought was cool, but yeah, I didn't recognize either of them from.
Okay, now who's Kale in the comics?
She's been around for a while. She's a witch that she's been in Doctor Strange comics, things like that. She's one of those magic practices. Honestly, I thought they would go like Margot Lizardos and Amanda Sefton,
Okay.
because of the Winding Way,
Mhm.
which are, which they were originally introduced in X-Men comics, but they came into the broader magic stuff for a while. And this idea that the magic kind of flows back and forth. So I was surprised it didn't go that road or use at least one of them.
Sure.
But they don't line up with the specifics of what they wanted to do. And frankly, I think they didn't use them because basically the others were killed.
Right.
Right. So I think they went with characters that, that they made up to kill them,
Will we see her again?
Jennifer Kale?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Maybe
so.
as soon as Vision Quest?
That's a good question. It's definitely possible. It just depends on what they want to do. I wonder how much Vision Quest is going to deal with magic and how much it's going to be rooted in there not being magic, right?
Right. Is that the episode? Is that the show where we get Tommy?
I think so.
Uh-huh.
You have to figure that show is at least starting out is they're still trying to appeal to Vision's humanity. Now, remember, the White Vision didn't have the memories, and at the end, he got them.
Yes. Wait.
So
when did he get the memories at the end? At the end of WandaVision, yes.
The I want to say fake. The conjured Vision gave them to him, right? Before he disappeared. So that gives the White Vision the ability to get there. So he's probably. I think the idea is that he has the memories without the emotional attachment to them.
Does that stuff exist in Wakanda? The download? We keep thinking about this download in Wakanda that might have happened in Infinity War.
I mean, that's the question. Listen, I think it's going to be a character story. I think something has to make him get there, and obviously, his sons coming back might be the things that do it. Right? That's what I would expect.
Yeah. Screen Sanctum. I'm sorry, Ian. Screen Sanctum's on YouTube, and they said, "Yep, this series does indeed rock." Ian, we saw a preview for Wonder Man, and we know that from the comics, the Avengers comics, there was a love triangle between Wonder Man, Simon Williams, the Vision, and the Scarlet Witch.
So let's back up.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like All right, what was not clear to me in that trailer is whether he has powers yet.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he does have powers. Seems like
Just
he's just an actor. Right.
So we don't know for sure if that's the case. He could be an actor that has powers that wants to be the Wonder Man, It's not clear, right? So what was important is in the comics, Simon Williams, and I don't want to go too far off. I think this is, we'll save this from a Wonder Man podcast. Let me not go too far, but since you brought up in this context,
yeah,
Simon Williams, who became Wonder Man, is a character that existed that was initially a bad guy, and then he sacrificed himself to help the Avengers and died. Ultron, in creating the Vision, used his brain engrams to basically create Vision. So ultimately, down the line, they don't say this at first. See, for the longest time, we're like brothers because we're based on the same person. But it's sort of this twist of way down the line, there's this, oh yeah, of course he's in love with her too, because he's basically Vision's based on the same brain.
Yeah.
Is this idea. And there's a point because Vision did go unemotional for a while, so they're not together anymore, that for a while, Wanda and Simon are together. So I think they're not going to really touch upon that aspect of him. And
Sure.
you see anything about that leads to that.
Especially since Vision's based on
created, at least in terms of that stuff.
Vision's based on Ultron in the one of the Infinity Stones. So it's like that's not the MCU version of
on Jarvis.
Jarvis, got you.
Yes.
My bad, Jarvis. Yeah, built on Jarvis. It's been a while since we saw Jarvis, so yeah.
Yes. So exactly. So I don't think we're going to have that aspect. I don't expect there to be any Wanda stuff in Wonder Man.
I was so excited to send you that trailer. Wonder Man looks great.
Yeah.
That whole sizzle that I sent you that they played before this episode, I was so excited when I found it on YouTube. I sent it to Justin and Ian, and I was like, dude, we get to see the high school Spider-Man. What's that, brother?
Daredevil looks awesome.
Daredevil looks incredible.
Yeah.
But I also love to get an update on Ironheart. I loved getting an update on Wonder Man. I love getting an update on this stuff.
Did they give dates in that, or like approximate dates?
They did not give dates beyond the fact that we are going to get.
Daredevil's going to be before Ironheart, right?
Yeah, I think Daredevil's January or something. But the dates that we saw were 2025, except for Deadpool Wolverine.
I think it was March.
Deadpool Wolverine is coming to Disney Plus. Is all we got. But I got the Blu-ray right over here, as you do as well, I'm sure. I got to go physical media on that Deadpool Wolverine, man. I can't risk that stuff disappearing. I loved that movie so much.
I don't think
Ian, we got to talk about Aubrey Plaza, who we all love already, and her character Death.
So I do have the dates in case people haven't looked it up.
Yeah, I have not. If you want to give them to us.
What If season 3 is in December 22nd.
Yes. I love that What If, man.
Spider-Man January 29th. Captain America Brave New World February 14th, 2025. Daredevil Born Again is March 4th. Thunderbolt is May 2nd. Ironheart June 24th. Fantastic Four then is July 25th. This is 2025. Eyes of Wakanda, the animated Black Panther show, is August 6th, 2025. It's not Black Panther, it's Wakandans, I should say.
Well, yeah.
And Wonder Man is until December 2025.
And somewhere in there we get Marvel Zombies as well, somewhere. Maybe 2026.
Yeah, somewhere in there, I think. And Avengers Doomsday is May 2026. And Avengers Secret Wars is May 2027.
Ian, I can only say one thing. We're back,
baby.
Baby.
Where Vision is. Vision's in there somewhere.
We're back. Marvel's back, baby.
Yeah, but also undated is X-Men 97 season 2. And Spider-Man 4 is apparently in between Doomsday and Secret Wars.
But it's not going to be called The King in Black.
No, I'm hearing maybe it might be Brand New Day.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they kind of already did Brand New Day. Brand New Day Geekscape. This was semi-controversial storyline where they reset everybody's memory of Peter to hide his identity again. And this is recent, last 20 years. And it seems like that's what they did in No Way Home anyway. So,
well, no, that's the ending. So if that to be the name of the movie, that's the ramifications of it, I think.
Yeah, Brand New Day.
That makes sense. Brand New Day is it happened, and now what happens next?
Cool.
So
I'm in.
That title makes sense to me.
I'm in, and bring in all the Sony characters. I will find a way to talk about Venom, The Last Dance,
But
in
bottom line, that's not going to happen.
every conversation.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Ian, let's talk about Aubrey Plaza's death. I saw a comment after she was
Awesome.
revealed to be death, which we were guessing she's death by that point. Somebody on the internet I read say, yeah, if I was Thanos, I'd eliminate half the universe for Aubrey Plaza too. Can't blame the guy, because in the comics, Thanos uses the Infinity Gauntlet to erase half the universe to impress Death, who he's in love with.
And they easily could have just said, yeah, that was part of it, but it also didn't need to,
Yeah, no, this is all contained. This is all beautiful. This is all well done. I love that they revealed Aubrey Plaza's death. I love that there's a little bit of Dia de los Muertos stuff going on with that. Aubrey Plaza's Puerto Rican. And then in the sequence in episode 8, where Billy shows up to semi-save the day, really buy more time for Agatha's battle with Death, at the culmination of that episode, you see her without the nose. You see Death really ghastly.
Awesome.
But the neutrality of Death that you see in that episode, but also in episode 9, when she summons people, and you see it at the culmination of one of the witches too, where she's like, I thought I had more time, and she says, it's time to go. I like that Death wasn't necessarily a bad character. Death was Death.
Death is death. It's just the deal.
Yeah, the treatment was awesome.
For me is, and they even reference her as Lady Death and that kind of stuff. It is there in the Marvel stuff, but I still feel that they kind of presented her more the way Vertigo did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a smarter kind of death. Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's not, there's no copyright on that, I don't think. But Marvel did that some. In particular, you read the Peter David Hulk run, right?
Yeah, it's a classic.
You remember Marlowe dying and come back, all that? And I don't know if you remember, one of my favorite things was Death gave her a wedding gift, and it was a brush, because she had a brush with Death.
It's Peter David being cute.
Peter David.
I don't remember that, but that's Peter David being cute.
Yeah.
Ian, will we see Death again in the Marvel Universe? Will we see Aubrey Plaza's death?
We certainly easily can if they go cosmic. I don't think there's a reason otherwise. I mean, look, it's easy to do. If a character dies and you want to have her cameo, whatever else, someone dies and there she is. I mean, you can literally stick her in anything if you want.
Right. And I watched a video on the original idea for the Avengers being the Red Skull as the villain and this and that. Right. I'd love to see the Red Skull reconstituted as the Red Skull and be the Red Skull.
Let me say this on the Aubrey Plaza thing. Like, in a cosmic story, I think it'd be really cool if, you have her watching because something's about to happen, like that could be super cool things they can do with her. Are they gonna? I mean, they can, but
we haven't gotten the Watcher yet in live action.
The main point is that the really big story with her is the Thanos story they've already done. You know, so it's easy to stick her in. You can stick her in anywhere you want. But now there's definitely a chance, because of what they're doing, what they've set up with Tommy, that she shows up there.
Sure, because Tommy also has to escape death.
Well, so let's talk about this in regards to this show. So Jack Schaefer was the showrunner of both Wanda Vision and this. And they did a writer's room for Vision Quest that Jack Schaefer was running. And then she had some stuff going on in her life. I don't think this is publicly known. But basically, she stepped away. And they threw it out, and listen, we should be excited. I mean, I think she did a great job in both those shows. But nonetheless, Terry Matalas took over.
Yeah.
And they started from scratch. I mean, it's still a jumping off point. He's still picking up. And everything I've seen says it is continuing this story. But so Terry Matalas,
Geekscape is, you know him from Picard, season 4. You know him from I'm blanking. I want to say another Marvel related, like Legion.
Yeah. But also he did didn't he showrun 12 Monkeys? 12
Monkeys is the one that put him on the map.
Yeah, I love that show.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the movie, but I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah, and we'll see what he does with the Marvel property.
Right. And obviously we're still hoping for a legacy, and But yeah, I have high expectations of that show. I think it'll be great. I think he's great, so it's really exciting to me.
And Ian, we got
So
Death.
my point is that, you know, if Jack Schaefer's still been doing it, was her character and her plan, I almost would expect Aubrey Plaza to have shown up in it. But Matalis could go either way, right?
Yeah.
Because you might feel that story has been told, and do we need to have another she's fighting because she doesn't want it to happen? You know? And by the way, it's already happened, right? So what is it, you know, other than she doesn't like it?
Ian, I heard a rumor that Vision Quest in the reemergence of Ultron, this and that, was basically the Vision putting the Young Avengers together.
That certainly could be. And do we get Vision?
Yeah. I heard that there was a casting out for Vision, and that they had almost gotten the girl from... I sent you that rumor that the girl from Stranger Things had been cast as Vision at some point. The girl who plays the sister who was introduced in season 3, I believe, and is running up that hill. Do you remember that character?
Yeah. I think the buzz is Sadie Sink.
Sadie Sink.
Yeah. So
we'll wait and see.
She's in talks to do it.
All I can say is, from the calendar you just read us, we're going to have plenty of Marvel between now and then.
Yeah. And, you know, it's actually funny because I know when this stuff hit, a lot of people said, wait, there wasn't Marvel saying they were scaling back and now they have all these things. But here's the truth. Daredevil's taking forever, right? They had held this show back for a while. They've held Ironheart back. The anime shows, they come out when they get there. By the way, in fairness, classically speaking, I mean, there's pretty much, I mean, for so long, there's been an animated Spider-Man show. It's been a while that we haven't had one. I don't think we ever really counted that as, oh, there's a Spider-Man show, there isn't. And that one's not the MCU continuity.
The one coming up?
The Spider-Man show, yeah.
Oh, it's like the Sony continuity? I thought it was the Tom Holland Spider-Man.
It's its own thing, the same way every other animated Spider-Man show has been.
Oh, I thought that this Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was an MCU character. I thought it was the MCU character.
I don't think it is. Maybe
you know
I'm
what's
wrong.
Really cool? Our friend Eugene, who's been on Geekscape and was in our film, Eugene Bird plays, I think, the young Tombstone.
Okay.
In the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So I was excited to see Eugene involved.
I mean, I know it's called Spider-Man Freshman Year, but
that's what it's called. Yeah. You know? I've been calling it Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But again, there's usually been, an animated show. And I mean, by the way, the most recent one, they actually had like Ghost Spider and Miles, and the three of them were all classmates and the exact same age, but Peter got his powers like a couple months before.
I remember that.
But, but my point is that, like there's usually been one, and it's outside continuity. So, and we're getting, I mean, the Wakanda show, I believe that's in continuity. Obviously, what that is.
Because it was Spider-Man Freshman Year, and we'd already met Spidey in Civil War after he had been doing this a while, I honestly thought that they solicited
the prequel.
Yeah, I thought they solicited Freshman Year as a prequel to his involvement in Civil War.
I like that idea. I don't think that's what it is.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I'll watch a Spider-Man show. If they're like, Jonathan, the Spider-Man show is him just cooking for an hour, I'll watch it. I don't care. I love Spider-Man. It's like, hey, Jonathan, this is what would be the most bizarre version of a Spider-Man show. I'll watch it. I don't care.
According to
Love is Blind Spider-Man, I'll watch it.
Wikipedia, it's set in an alternate timeline where Norman Osborn becomes Parker's mentor instead of Tony Stark.
Okay, then I'm in. Okay, cool.
It is definitely not this continuity.
Can't wait for that to collapse in I can't wait to see that version of Spider-Man in Secret War. It'll be wonderful.
I mean, maybe that happens. It does look like they got some good voice talent. Charlie Cox is among the voice talent. So
yeah, I mean, when I saw the Charlie Cox involvement as Matt Murdock, I was like, oh, then it is continuity. But what you're saying, that tracks too. I'll watch it.
Listen,
I'll watch it.
I think it comes down to this. It's on Disney Plus. as opposed to it just being on some random, one of the Disney XD was the last one, So it's going to get more attention than they've had in the past. But they have a lot of big characters in it. I mean, Doctor Strange is in it. Amadeus Cho, who, so again, we mentioned earlier in this podcast, the Young Avengers. I've said on previous podcasts that it seems, as I'm expecting with Thunderbolts, they're taking two concepts there. You have both Young Avengers and you have Champions, and they kind of merge them together because Champions is just a retread of Young Avengers, right?
It's
a
most
later
recent Champions, yeah. Not the 70s Champions with Hercules.
Champions is a new iteration of Young Avengers,
Right.
And actually more closely connected than the Young Avengers actually were. But anyway,
I think you're right. It's going to be the Champions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes no sense. Why would they call themselves Young Avengers,
Would you see Hulkling in this? That's one thing that I kept thinking is because Hulkling is a romantic interest for Billy.
Show might happen,
We got Billy.
I was waiting to hear, Billy Williams' boyfriend's name, and it was, and it wasn't Teddy.
That's not a scroll.
I was waiting.
Yeah, they could introduce Hulkling, and he's the lone survivor of the Secret Invasion.
They can. I mean, listen. By the way, we still don't know where Amelia Clark's going to show up again.
Yeah. Well, I honestly thought that we might have. I mean, I think I sent you texts when I was seeing trailers for the Marvels. I was like, could that be Hulkling? Could that be Hulkling? Could that be Hulkling? Then the singing planet that Miss Marvel doomed to extinction, I guess.
Yeah.
That planet's gone. Would have been nice to see that planet recover somewhere in like a mid-credit scene or something. No, it's dead. Oh. That planet's dead.
Sure. So, so we'll see.
All right.
But
Ian, is there...
I was going to say, I think there's exciting stuff coming. I'm intrigued. What drives me crazy with all of it is it's like, it's years till you get the next thing, right?
Just stay alive, stay fit, do your healthy stuff.
I'm doing that, but you know what I'm saying.
Look both ways before you cross the street.
I try to do that.
Stay, a little less red meat. Let's figure this out. We have to survive. We have to stay alive to watch these shows.
Yeah.
And talk about them on Geekscape. Since the beginning, man. Since the first episode.
Right,
since the drop.
Hopefully we'll survive the Civil War next week.
Oh, God. Don't bring that up. Oh, man. I literally told my guests, I was like, I don't know about, let's see how this works out.
I didn't make a political statement. I just said survive the Civil War. That's what I said. Right?
I'll make a political statement.
You can.
Yeah, it's like I've had a political statement since starting. If you don't know, I'm the biggest liberal there is. Like after listening to the show for so long, yeah, I'm good.
I did not know that.
Yeah, right. Based on this show, yeah, you've probably surmised it. That's why the numbers are so good. You know what I discovered this week in my communications online that at least one or two former guests are pretty hardcore Trumpers in their dialogue with me online, and it's just the way it is. They have their free speech, and they can pull their research from any.
They have their free speech, and they don't want us to have ours.
They can pull their research from any faulty, sources they want. They can watch as much Newsmax and Tenet Media as they want, and then spew it at me on social media and tell them they're never going to watch Geekscape again. It's okay. Because if you're listening to this, you listen to Geekscape. I hope you thought this was enjoyable. And I'm sorry for my brain. My brain is really getting wrecked. Ian met the baby on camera right before we started, and my brain is really having a number done to it. But I knew we had to get together and talk some Agatha All Along because I loved it. And Ian loved it.
I loved it all along.
Okay. All right. When my brain gets to the point where I say stuff like that.
What was a better title than Coven of Chaos? That was the original title.
I think after Multiverse of Madness, you can't have Coven of Chaos. Does that make sense?
I guess so.
Like, that's a little cute.
I actually think that it lands a little on the nose because at the end, it was, Agatha's, it was the whole Witches Road thing was a scam. It was all about just trying to steal the powers, which they accused her of.
Yeah. Yeah, she was a liar. And we'll see what she does as a ghost.
Yeah.
It's also like,
I think it was really well done. I've been telling my wife she should definitely watch it.
oh, she wasn't watching it?
Listen, I got to a point where, with certain things like Marvel, like if she's not going to watch immediately, I'd rather I'll watch it and you can go watch it on your own, because
you can't let the internet fuck it up for you.
Yeah, I can't wait till tomorrow, I don't have time right now, whatever else. So honestly, I train Wednesday nights and I was watching right before I went to train.
Yeah, well, I remember hitting you up after the Big Billy episode and being like, did you watch Wanda Vision? You said, I watched it at 6 p.m. And I was like, okay, you're dedicated.
Well, no,
I was at this point.
And then if I didn't watch it at 6, then maybe I could watch, I'd get home from training and, then at late family stuff, whatever else.
No, you got to stay off the internet.
Yeah, it's 6 or it's midnight, if that works out, and it might not. So,
yeah, no, I watched. And I never do this. I never watch it more than one episode at a time because of time and busyness and stuff like that. But the baby was asleep. So Wednesday night, I knew that I didn't want to be on the internet without having watched those episodes. I saw that they put both episodes up. I knew that I was going to watch both episodes. And Heidi just looked at me like, how are you doing this? Like, you never do this. But TV's been so good.
I didn't sit down to watch till 12:30.
No, I watched the whole. I shotgunned that, man. I was so stoked. After that 8th episode.
Because with a double, I didn't have time before class. So I got home, and once everyone was asleep, everything else, I sat down. I just stayed up late and watched them.
That's why you got to do your fitness at 5:30 in the morning, Ian. Come on, man. Like a psychopath. You can be a psychopath. Oh, man. All right, babies.
Perfectly good bed to be in. I don't need to do that.
Geekscapists, I hope you're still listening. Thank you for doing so. If you have, share it with your friends. Tell them, hey, these two nerds, they talk about this stuff pretty in depth. They kind of know what they're talking about. The Ian guy does. The other guy has half a brain, but it's okay. I'm your host. I got to guide the ship a little bit. But I just really need to make sure Ian is dropping the knowledge.
Cool, actually, I was thinking about it.
Oh, dude, I'm trying to wrap up. What?
No, well, wouldn't it be awesome if we got Man-Thing back? Because Jennifer Kale
yes,
with Man-Thing.
I wanted Man-Thing to be there at the nexus in Multiverse of Madness, where Man-Thing's supposed to be.
I mean, I'm just saying that one-off they did was awesome.
It was effing awesome. And you know what?
Man-Thing.
We didn't mention it here. Mephisto reference very early on in the season.
But we didn't get any more.
So didn't get no Mephisto, but I think they're warming things up.
Magic is real, so
we didn't get the Darkhold back, but it was a part of the early part of the season. We got that Mephisto reference, and Jonathan jumped up and down excited. But they do this stuff, and sooner or later, Doctor Strange has to start noticing this corner of the universe. It's gonna be good.
Well, listen, I mean, obviously, Wanda was in the Doctor Strange movie. It was disappointing he didn't show up in Wanda Vision, but they
that would have made it about him.
That's real.
Let's go.
All
right, Ian. We'll be talking.
Third movie. Did they set up a whole thing with Clea? What the hell?
You need to be patient. Okay. You need to be patient, Ian. Okay, like they got you the Doomsday.
The big.
You relax. You got Doomsday. You're gonna have some Secret War. You're gonna have this and that. You just named 9 things coming out next year.
I don't need Eternals too. Do you need?
I want to see it. I want to see at least those characters.
Yeah, I want Star Fox and Pip the Troll. I
want to see some of the Turtles back. I want to see more Celestials. Yeah, man, but not in their movie.
To be clear, the Celestial stuff is a big part of.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you're the reason Blade got pulled off the schedule.
Am I?
You're not. But you took the Black Knight with it. We don't need to see Black Knight.
I'm just saying the whole Celestial thing that they've just left hanging there is a big part of the Captain America movie.
I know. You see it in the trailer. I'm excited to see it. All right. Ian, thanks for doing this with me, dude.
All right.
Geekscapists, subscribe, share with your friends, find us on social media, all that stuff. We'll be Geekscape until you get back and Geekscape with us. All right. Thanks, Ian. Peace, everybody. Say bye to the audience.
Bye to the audience.